Hello everybody, and welcome back to the continuation of this picture of the week. And if you haven't been watching, guys, it is all to do with the end game, and we have drawn Iron Man this week, guys, because again, spoilers, at the end of the film he saves the day in a most fashion that was very sad for a lot of fans. But the whole process that is from the basic sketch, where we just basically taught you where to put the eyes, where to put the nose, and how to get a shape of the face of what you kind of want to get to. Obviously, I'm not that great at doing faces, but I don't think I'm done too badly, and considering the reference thumbnail, guys. Guys, he does get himself a Infinity Gauntlet. That is why I wanted to take it to the digital arena, which is where we are now, obviously. I've changed things up a little bit again this week because I want to carry on going live, because I know a couple of you guys have been still watching. So thank you very much for doing that so far. I'm going to be continuing what I've been doing in the past few days by putting on some more music. Sorry, not music. Putting some reviews and some different explanations. Now the film's been out for a while. We're going to be listening to Mr. Sunday Movies, I believe, in a moment. He's brilliant. He's so funny, and we're going to be listening to him in a moment. We've got a few other things from other YouTubers as well, guys. And if you want to know where I get all of my information, then either come over to Instagram or leave a comment on the live stream today. I may not see your comments straight away, guys. So be fair warned that if I don't reply straight away, it's because I can't see them. Because what I'm actually having to do is use my TV here. And at the same time, I'm also having to flip back between doing it this way. If you see what I mean, the inception on the page, on the screen there, that I'll have to only have it in the camera like this, and try not to have it too much like this. But if you do want to leave me a comment, all you got to do is say hi in the comments, and I will eventually, or will be periodically, looking at my phone whilst I'm looking at other things. So yeah, we'll be listening to some more stuff in a moment. If you want to leave a comment, feel free to do so. Otherwise, thanks for watching. My name's Blut084, BLUT084, Art and Games. I'm here every single day on YouTube, occasionally on the Mixer, but every day and night over on Instagram. As always, guys, we'll be using the pencil tool down at the bottom here, or the ink tool. Probably won't stray too far from it, but I will probably be putting a little bit of shading as I go along. Again, I'll tell you which tool I'm using, but we will be listening to what we need to listen to. Give me inspiration as I'm drawing, because I don't always talk, and it's quite... I can't talk whilst I draw sometimes. So yeah, we'll get some stuff going. I'll get some construction lines, and you just keep watching what I'm doing. You will get close-ups, and you will get different where all the tools are and an actual proper view in the next video, guys. But this is just the construction lines and how to copy what you've already drawn on pencil and digitize it for later use. Just a quick thing for what I do. I'm just going to turn that one off. We've got different layers. Turn that one off as well. And it's different when you haven't got pencil. And we've got here. So I've got the main layer here. So I can turn the opacity from 100% to 65 or 67, sorry, up to there, whatever it is, whatever you want to put it down. I put it down to a fair amount so I can still see it, but it's not overpowering. So if I was to put a dark line, so we've got a pen line here. So if I was to zoom in, that's actually really small. So if I was to use this line here, not maybe the right color, but you see what I'm trying to say. I'll get what color should we have? I'll have it in there. I probably will color pick a few things, but for now I'm going to be trying to get this done. I am using a mouse. I'm not using a stylus. And it's very annoying having to use that. That's still too small. God damn it. But yeah, it's faffing. It's a lot of faffing, but it kind of is worth it. There we go. Oh, I'm doing on the opacity. So I shouldn't even be doing that layer in the first place. So let's make another layer. So that's now back up to 100%. So if I just click on that layer and I start drawing. Because when you just first go in, you will just basically copying what you've already drawn. And you will see the difference towards closer to the end. But this will take me a bit of time, guys. So again, we'll be listening to Mr. Sunday movies and loads of other things from other people's YouTube. So keep tuned, guys. If you have, again, any questions, or if you just want to talk about the end game, then let me know. You may get a few spoilers in this video, so again, be warned. But I'm going to start the video that I'm going to be listening to while you watch the one that you're watching.
Time travel can be confusing. It can be even more confusing when you see it in a recent movie, and then they kind of brush over certain ideas, and then you leave the cinema and you're like, what about this particular thing? How does that actually work?
Time travel in real life, I imagine, would also be quite complicated. But let's talk about the movie.
Is that why it's illegal?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Makes sense, actually. Yeah. Talking about Avengers Endgame, spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big word here that says spoilers.
Spoilers.
Some people miss it sometimes.
So if you can see it,
yeah.
If you can't see it, we've said spoilers.
That's right.
For the movie Endgame, specifically.
Yes.
Avengers Endgame.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is the line that the Hulk says to kind of define this version of the MCU time travel. Just to kick things off.
I'm ready.
If you travel back to your own past, that destination becomes your future, and your former present becomes the past, which can't now be changed by your new future.
Okay, right, gotcha.
Which essentially means you can't change your past, because if you went back to change your past, you would alter it in a way which would mean you would never have to go back to your past in the first place.
Okay, so if you went back in time and you killed your past self,
yes.
You'd still be fine.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't make any difference.
But the reason that it doesn't happen like that is because it seems to me, and there are many theories on this,
yes,
that this is a multiverse situation.
Yes.
And not a one linear timeline situation.
Right, okay, sure.
So, for example, Nebula kills the past version of Nebula.
Mm-hmm.
The regular version of Nebula, though, is still alive.
Yes.
The good one.
Mm-hmm.
Thanos is murdered, the 2014 version, but the snap still happens.
Yes.
That still occurs.
Mm-hmm.
Gamora is taken through time and brought back to the regular universe.
Yes.
And she's just alive again.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Correct, yes.
That implies that they're borrowing people from slightly different parallel realities.
Correct, yes.
So that is
or maybe even creating them?
Yeah, or creating them as they go. And the reason that could also be the case is because Tilda Swinton says, once you pull a stone out of a timeline, that will create a diverging stream.
A branching stream, yes.
For good or ill.
Mm.
But
the line was black, so we're going to assume it was ill.
That's right.
But not ill in a good way.
No.
There's no license to ill.
No, it's really not. I'm still not sure, though, whether it's just that thing that changes the past dramatically, or creates an alternative timeline, I should say, dramatically, or it's little things. Like Captain America meeting himself. Does that create a branching timeline? To be stone related is what I'm saying.
That's a really good question. I feel in this instance it had to be mostly stone related.
Yes.
I think anything that is on like a personal level doesn't seem to change that much.
No.
Like I imagine that Captain America encounters weird stuff every day.
Yeah.
And a dude who's dressed like him.
Batroc the Leaper. That guy
Exactly.
was doing a flip.
Exactly.
You couldn't believe it.
Exactly. Like, and who's to say this isn't Batroc the Leaper again doing a flip? It's just another dude he has to fight.
Yeah.
So I think in the grand scheme of his life, that's not going to affect his thought process that much to alter his behavior enough to alter that reality.
Yes.
I think he's just like, well, this is probably Loki or one of Loki's friends. He's put on my face. I'm going to fight him.
Yeah.
I've fought him. Now I'll continue along with my daily life.
Absolutely. This version of time travel, though, again, it's not strictly time travel. It's dimensional.
Yes.
Means that you can actually bring back anybody with a time machine.
Yeah.
It's not the same character necessarily.
Yeah. Huh.
Let's say the main universe is called 616, which is what it is in the comic books.
Mm-hmm.
You're basically stepping into a slightly different version of that. So if you go and grab Black Widow through time,
Yes.
which you can,
Yep.
you are taking a version of Black Widow from a different reality to bring her back.
Yes.
You could still do it, though. You could bring her back. You could grab Tony Stark from the past and bring him back, which happened in the comics.
Yeah,
you
right.
could grab 50 Captain Americas
Yeah.
and bring them into the
and
one
50
dimension.
Hitlers and make them fight.
Or kiss,
Yes.
but fight. And that's the thing, though. You don't need an infinity gauntlet to do that. This movie ends with time travel being an established thing in this universe that can be used if you have the technology.
Yeah, right, uh-huh.
Because after the gauntlet is used and then the stones are taken back to the timelines,
Mm-hmm.
then they still use it. They use it to drop Captain America in the past. But here's the thing, that timeline that they visited,
Yes.
they wouldn't have necessarily created timelines that are that different because they put the stones back.
Yeah, right.
There is an exception to that,
Oh, here we go.
and that is Loki.
Yes.
Because he grabs one and bails.
He disappears, yeah. He grabs the space stone
Yes.
and spaces out of there.
Captain America would have had to grab him and stop that from happening. Loki's kind of the wild card in this situation. I think this is going to probably lead into his Disney Plus series.
Yes.
So there's a few possibilities for what could happen.
Mhm.
But he could have been caught immediately by Thor or somebody
Or
else.
Hulk, maybe, yeah.
Or Thanos.
Yeah.
And
That's assuming he teleported from the inside of the building to directly outside the building
Yes.
to maybe catch a cab or something.
yeah, that's right. So it's very possible that his fate ended up the same and Thanos ended up murdering him regardless.
Yeah,
But
right.
it's also possible that this version of Loki is the one we're going to see in the new TV series.
Yeah, right.
And
It's still quite evil.
That's
Although free of the influence of the scepter, so
That's
maybe
right,
not as
exactly.
evil. Maybe alive, not
Yep.
as evil and regretful.
So maybe he's a time-hopping, dimensional-hopping version of Loki, because apparently that's what that show is about. He's influencing events throughout history. It could be a Loki prequel about
Yep.
his life up to that point, because he has been alive for thousands of years.
Yes.
Or it could be a modern version of Loki, just fucking with people through time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or he has a food truck.
Or he's got a food truck.
As every show I want to happen, he's just got a food truck and he's just going from town to town, solving mysteries and giving out
Cooking
Cubano
biscuits.
sandwiches. Exactly,
Yeah.
that's right. Just had a quick heads up.
Yep.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe is Earth 199,199.
It does have a
We're going to
name.
get emails.
Oh, good. Well, please continue to send your email. That's
Okay,
fine.
good. Yep.
I would love to hear it.
Mhm.
The other thing is, there's an interesting kind of wrinkle with the Steve Rogers situation. And I'm not just talking about him getting bloody old, mate. Thank you. Didn't rewrite that.
It shows
You don't-
that you didn't write it ahead of time.
So I think it's a possibility. I'm not the only one that's posited this.
Yes.
That Steve Rogers going to the past to live with Peggy Carter creates another diverging timeline.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Mhm.
Let's say that it does, though. Because he steals Peggy Carter away from the man she was supposed to marry. Unless that was always supposed to happen.
Sure.
We can get into that, sure. And then he lives his life, and Captain America is a public figure that lives up to the modern day. He gets to an age where he's very old, and then using the suit, he jumps back to the regular reality to hand over his shield and say goodbye to the people from the universe that he is from.
Right,
He
okay.
can do that
Yes.
because you don't need the time platform to jump through time. We see that because they jump from 2012 to 1970 in the movie.
That's true, yeah. Mhm.
So it's possible that he just held on to some pin particles, wait till he got old, jumped over, said goodbye to his friends, lived out the rest of his days there because Peggy's already passed away.
Okay.
So that
Right.
Captain America could have lived in a alternate universe for that entire time.
For everybody at home, James has had crackpot eyes on this whole time while he's explaining this theory. And look, it's a good theory, but I don't think it's the correct theory.
What do you think?
I think it is. I think there's a much simpler explanation. It's that in The Winter Soldier, we see a recording of Peggy Carter, and she says that the man she married, her husband, is a man that Captain America rescued from behind enemy lines during World War II. Now, I think that man actually is Captain America.
Yes.
I think he just went back in time, presumably, I would say, after the events of Agent Carter, and just met up with her again and said, hey, I'm back, time travel, what do you think about that? And then when people asked, and who is this guy and why does he know so much about Captain America and World War II? He could have just said, Captain America rescued me from behind enemy lines during World War II.
And I stole his face.
Yeah, and stole his face, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that could very well be true. But here's the thing.
Uh-oh.
He would still have to be from an alternate reality. So it still would have been a branching timeline
I don't think
that
it
he would
is,
have been
though.
sitting in.
I don't know, I think it's just...
Because when you go back in time, it's not actually your past.
Yes.
It's a different reality.
Oh, I see. Okay. I think it's the same reality. In going back, if he goes back in time and he doesn't affect anything on a too major scale, he doesn't change. That reality doesn't branch off.
Yes.
I think because he's just gone back in time and he seems to be living a completely suburban life.
Yeah.
And he hasn't affected anything. And also the fact that Peggy Carter later gets Alzheimer's and doesn't remember anything.
Yes.
That he can
can
just,
wave that all
if he
away.
just lives that life
Yeah.
and he doesn't make too much trouble, he keeps his head down, I think it's the same reality.
Look, it's confusing. I'd love to hear people's theories about what they think is actually going on here.
Yeah.
Maybe explain some of the perceived plot holes or elements that are kind of left undone, like the return of Loki. Can you bring back Tony Stark?
Should you bring
Should you bring
Tony
back
Stark?
Tony Stark? What creates a diverging timeline and what doesn't? All of these things, I'd really love to hear people's thoughts.
Yes.
But I think it's basically a multiverse situation where
I think it is. I think it is. I think it absolutely is a multiverse situation. But in this instance, you just live your life.
You get your wife.
If you give your life, you get your wife. Exactly what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. Also, just to clarify, people have asked about what's going on in Spider-Man Homecoming because it's set in 2023. Why is Ned Leeds still at school?
Yep.
Two possibilities. One, he's a complete dumbass. And two, he was also in the SNAP. And that school year is made up of people who were snapped in 2018 and also people who grew up to be that age in 2023.
Correct, yes.
So it's a school of bloody two different generations.
Are they going to address that? Probably with one line.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Or maybe like a video, Captain America PSA video.
Yeah, someone will be like, "You still play Fortnite?"
Yeah, right.
Like,
exactly.
yeah, even though I'm from a different, I was in the Snap and
Snap
or whatever. Yeah.
Time travel. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. And look, it's Mysterio. He's got a fishbowl on his head.
That's right. So look, we have a podcast called The Weekly Planet where we talk movies and comics and TV shows. We recently did a spoiler-heavy episode on Captain America. That is linked below. If you want to, Captain America. It is on Captain America. It's on Endgame.
Avengers Endgame.
We go through a bunch of this stuff and theories in the future. There's also going to be videos on this channel that you can subscribe for, which will be coming up about this movie, explaining things, ideas for the future of the franchise, all those kinds of things. And there's also an Easter egg video and a video on the post credits. There's so many things that you can catch up on.
Yes.
Basically, subscribe on a podcast if you want. But
Yeah.
in summary, I'm at Mr. Sunday Movies on Twitter.
I'm at Wikipedia Brown on Twitter.
Thank you for watching, and
We'll see you in the future.
we're going
To steal your wife. Grab that gem, you guys. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Okay, so that's all the end of that one. We get like
Welcome to another Avengers Endgame nitpick fun session.
just a second before I carry on, because that sounds like a good an episode. Actually, a good episode we'll listen to. So we'll listen to that in a minute. Sounds like Scum Historian, so I'll keep that one playing. Again, I can't see because I'm using the same screen, but I'll pop back quickly, show you again what I'm actually getting up to. Whoa, we got some comments here. Hello, everybody. Are we sending links? Why are we sending links there, guys? So I didn't realize that you guys are still there. So let's grab my phone out so I can actually see your comments as they're coming in. Are you sending me some links there, guys? Hey there in the comments. Sorry, I can't see them straight away. What I can do, give me a sec, because I can carry on what I'm doing. There we go. Hopefully that'll work. Yes. Now I can see the comments. The only problem is, right, when I got the comments up there, if I tap on the screen where I'm about to be carrying on drawing. Oh, CHDPE has Avengers Endgame. PR has Avengers. What are you saying to me, bud? Are you sending me links? If you want to send me links, guys, come over to Instagram. That's so we will go at. All right, next, the other one. There we go. Instagram there, right? Probably not. Oh, let's check that. I did. Right, at Instagram / Luke and 084, because that's me, guys. Art and Games or Art Games. If you want to send me some links. But the only way that you can send a link to me over here, guys, is by so I've just disabled it, guys, and for like general and on the actual general settings. So you're gonna have to send those links to my Instagram, guys. So if you want to show me something, then feel free. But hi in the comments. Welcome to the chat. I'm going to carry on. You enjoying yourself? I've already seen the movie, buddy. I already know what's going on. Saw it last weekend. That's why I was going. Yeah, that's why I was carrying on, getting on with my picture this week. Have you enjoyed it? Have you learned how to draw anything yourself? Have you had a go at yourself? Phone back on charge here, guys. No, decided to die. Oh well. I have to get my tablet out then. Whee! I'll get on with some more art in a minute, second, guys. I'm literally just doing the construction lines today. I'm doing it all live. If you want to see the rest of this, don't forget to hit subscribe because I will, and ding the bell, sorry, is what I'm going to say. Yeah, hit that bell because I will send them over. I probably won't do live. I'll probably do them off live, so I'll record them so you can see them in better quality because what you're seeing right now isn't the greatest quality, as you probably already noticed. But when I record it, you can see everything because I do screen capture and things like that and put a little bit of music in behind that. But I'll probably be carrying on with a few more reviews. If guys, if you have seen the film and you want to chat about it, I have now got my tablet open so I can close that window on the screen that you're seeing. So that means I can carry on with the drawing that I've got to get done because I want to get these construction lines done. Then I'll be going into shading, and then I'll be going into color, and then we'll go into effects and how to light things and how to make things shine up because we've got obviously infinity crystals on the gauntlet. Done this from the beginning. Or plonk. There we go. Right. Now I can see all your comments, guys. Thank you very much for joining me so far. Thank you very much for leaving those comments. I'm going to carry on what we're doing, but we're going to be listening to some more comic story now, guys, where they're going to nitpick. They're going to go through the film. So again, more spoilers. But again, I'm gathering if you're watching this, you might already know what's going on, what's happened. So yeah. Definitely keep watching, keep listening, and enjoy the music and music. Keep calling it music. Definitely enjoy the artwork.
For the masses. Yes, that's right. For those of you guys who don't know, I loved the movie. I thought it was incredible. And my best advice to you, without giving you any spoilers, is to go to the movie and try not to overthink it. It's the best way to enjoy that movie because it is incredible. It is a feat of 11 years of the MCU coming together in one of the most incredible feats of cinematic history. It's a feat. I just like saying feat. I don't know why. Not feat like the ones you're thinking, like feat as in like an incredible thing that has happened. Anyway, now today we're going to nitpick yet another thing. And I'm basing this entirely off of the Discord discussions that I've been having with our community. So if I get asked the same question a whole bunch of times on our Discord of our community that you can find down below, I then make a video about it because why not? I assume other people want to know these answers. So, spoilers. Come here, Dan. Dan, the whiteboard. Okay, so if you're not tracking, spoilers. Little less. There we go. That works. Okay, spoilers are coming from this point onward. All right, close enough. All right, so today we're going to talk about one of the most asked questions and what literally caused me and Dan to almost go blow to blow. We almost fought at the pizza joint after we were done with the movie. Dan just could not bear with this. Now, hide your mug. There we go. Okay, so the big thing everyone wants to know is Thanos. Thanos, if for those of you, once again, spoilers, the movie opens up with Thanos dying, and then the decision is to go back in time and use time travel to recover all of the Infinity Stones from different points within the timeline to then have the Infinity Gauntlet.
Thank you very much for those links there, buddy.
But oh no, Thanos found out about it while they were time traveling and has
Well, definitely send those over to my Instagram, same name, different place, bud.
Snap happened, so
if anyone else is listening, watching, if you want me to subscribe to you guys, then all you got to do is subscribe to me.
Question number one, what about Thanos? How does that fracture the timeline? How does he do that? Two, where did they get the Pym particles? Okay, so First off, we're going to explain the time travel situation. So, this is the timeline of the MCU. Okay, here is 2019, and in the movie's context, they have gone back to multiple times to get it. But for the sake of this is 2014. Okay, 2014. So they go back to 2014. They acquire the appropriate Infinity Stones. They then come back to the current day of the movie, which I believe is 2024. So for the sake of the video, whether or not I'm right or wrong, it's close enough. 2024. Okay, my handwriting is amazing, isn't it? Especially when the board's floating there like this. Anyway, then, as we know by watching the movie, Thanos comes from 2014, and he travels. This is the Thanos beam. It's not like the dark side beams. It's the Thanos beam. All the way to 2024. Okay. He then fights against the Avengers, in which they eradicate him in one of the most epic finales ever, in which Tony Stark uses the Infinity Gauntlet to snap them out of existence. Okay, so that means that when Captain America goes back in time to 2014, to the original Avengers, to 1970, to 1940, to the Old West, because, hey, we got a What If show coming out, and why not make that something, because that'd be amazing. Please, Marvel, make a What If show where he goes back to the Old West. But anyway, when he goes back to all of these, he cannot fix the timeline with Thanos. Now, I had an entirely different statement to make right here and right now as to how the time travel works and why this is a splintered reality. This is the no Thanos reality, okay? Because in this timeline, he doesn't exist anymore. Instead of acquiring all of the Infinity Stones, Thanos left this timeline, and that timeline continued onward. Now, as the Russo brothers explained,
do a different layer now, guys.
I believe it's Professor Hulk that explained it, and Tony Stark, and the Ancient One.
So I can start going underneath layers. So I can do the armor, and now the gauntlet as well. I'll do the gauntlet on its own separate layer, but these are just construction lines, guys. Again, I'm just going over what I've already drawn this week. So later on, I'll be putting on colour, shading, and other things. I might do some shading in this video, but I might do that in the next one. It all depends on how much time I've got today, guys. So again, thank you very much for joining me.
So your timeline is a fixed state. It will not change no matter what you do to the past. Once you change the past, you create a different timeline. Now, this has presented a few arguments within the community. The Ancient One used an Infinity Stone as an example. She said, when you remove an Infinity Stone, that creates a timeline in which we do not have that Infinity Stone. Some people have taken this to mean that you can only change time with the Infinity Stones. This is false. Okay, in recent interviews, the Russo brothers are trying to clarify the situation involving time travel in the Avengers. And they stated everything that the Avengers did created a new timeline. Everything. So that means when Thanos left this, it created the no Thanos timeline. It also means that in the 1970s over here, right there, when somebody saw Tony Stark's goatee, this is the everyone copies Tony Stark's goatee timeline. So we're calling this the goatee timeline, okay? When Ant-Man went back to the 1990s of the original Avengers and decided he got a little hungry and got a donut, this is the Ant-Man ate a donut timeline. So we're going to call this the donut timeline. When Captain America went back to the 40s and accidentally rustled a bug and killed it, this is the Cap killed a bug timeline. Cap killed. I didn't think of this joke well enough because I've run out of room on my board, but you get what I'm stating. Everything that the Avengers did created a timeline. Now, since that is the case, the missing Thanos is a brand new timeline. Doesn't affect our current timeline. So in our appropriate timeline, right here, in the appropriate timeline, this one right here, we still had all the Infinity Stones recovered. Everyone still died, had their own thing, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff actually, in fact, happened leading up to Thanos snapping the universe out of existence and the events of the movie taking place, which created one of the most glaring plot holes in the movie of what happened to Thanos in 2014. He went missing because in that timeline, he left. He just up and vanished. So the Infinity Stones, the snap, none of that happens in that timeline. Everything up to 2014 happens. Everything beyond it changes. Now, just a real quick caveat. In those same interviews in which they clarified how the time travel works, they confirmed my theory from yesterday, or 2 days ago, whatever the other video came out, the Captain America one. They confirmed it. They said that, yes, Captain America did, in fact, go back in time before he was frozen, made a brand new Super Captain America timeline, and in that timeline there are 2 Captain Americas. And they said he used movie mumbo jumbo basically to come back to the main timeline. So that is exactly what I said. I was right. I'm hoping I'm right again. But either way, this is really fun to do this, and I hope you guys are enjoying yourself. But let's move on to the Pym particle conversation. Okay, so a part of the entire thing was that every character had the equivalent of 2 Pym particles, right? They had, because in order to time travel, you shrink down to the quantum realm, travel through time, and grow. To come back, you shrink down to the quantum realm, you go through, you come back. So big goes to small, goes to big, goes to small, goes to big. That's how you travel, okay? Are we all following along with my horrible looking circles? Cool. I it's gone. It's lost to time. It's lost. Beneath me is actually a black void where everything just gets lost forever. It's where all your socks are at, actually. Just a heads up. So the question everyone has been having is, how did Thanos come back to 2019 if Nebula used the last of the Pym particles that the good Nebula had? So we'll just have we'll just bad Nebula. I tried. Anyway, so if bad Nebula took the Pym particles, how did the good Nebula and the ship and the armies and everything come from 2014 to 2024? And the big question behind that is, how did they do that? They had no more Pym particles. Well, let's remember for a moment that you have to kind of suspend your connection of a lot of the plot points in this movie. Now, here's the answer I like to give. So, Nebula, good Nebula, was working with her team, which includes Ant-Man, which explains the Pym particles and explains how it all works. I'd like to assume that there was some meeting in which he fully explained the Pym particles to the team, because if you remember correctly, no one really knows how Ant-Man's powers function. So in order to explain how Pym particles work and how they're all going to be used, let's assume that he had a nice whiteboard in his own version of Dan, and they explained how Pym particles work in his own Scott Lang way. Using that knowledge, Thanos then tapped into good Nebula's mind and tapped all of her brain information, memories. And that's what normal people call them. I call them brain fluid, just things in your head. But anyway, images that you see when you're having nightmares. So anyway, your memories. He tapped into her memories. They sucked them all out, okay? And he saw this big conference that Scott Lang gave. So like we have Scott Lang here, and he's all like, it makes you big, it makes you small. And and then like Hulk's over here, and he's like, Hulk, biggest that there is. And Nebula's over here, and she's like, intriguing. So anyway, that's recreation of the event that didn't happen in the movie. Maybe this is the storyboard version. But so anyway, knowing this knowledge that it came from Hank Pym and the fact that he is Thanos, what I think happened is in the 2014 timeline, Thanos went to Earth, seeking out the original Hank Pym and the Pym particles. Because if you remember the timeline, 2015, that's Ant-Man. Which means this version of Thanos found out about everything before Ant-Man even happened. So everyone likes to be like, well, this is a good timeline where there's no Thanos. What if that's a timeline where Thanos didn't wait for the Infinity Gauntlet, went to Earth early, decimated Earth, took the Pym particles, and then he came back? Now, why would he need more Pym particles, and how did he get there? There's 2 things. I distinctly remember in the movie Nebula opening up her hand, and there was a tiny ship in her hand. So backpedal a little bit. Okay, War Machine warps out, right? He goes back to the normal timeline. We don't know how long between War Machine leaving and bad Nebula warping out happened. We don't know if that was 10 years. We don't know if that was 6 months. So they had plenty of time for her to go and attack Earth, get the Pym particles, shrink down the ship, which shrunk down everything inside of it, and bring it with her in her pocket. Okay? I remember distinctly a scene in which she looked at the ship, but Dan states that I'm wrong and he doesn't remember the scene. I think he just kind of blinked that moment because it was really quick, but hey, whatever. So, if she did have the ship in her hands, and I'm not remembering this improperly, then it's super simple. They went over, they got these Pym particles from Hank Pym by decimating Earth far, far early, and then she went back in time, and then used them, grew the ship, big battle happens. Alternatively, we could also go with the theory that Thanos, now having an idea of how time travel and Pym particles work, is completely capable of reverse engineering it, even if it takes a couple of years, and then warps to the current timeline. It's time travel, guys. It doesn't matter how long it takes him to reverse engineer, because he can jump back to the time that he's looking for, where they had all of the Infinity Stones in one primary location. Okay? So that kind of solves the Pym particle situation. Also, some people I have asked, well, how did Cap get the pin particles for the very end of the movie? If you remember correctly, he took 4, only needed 2 for him and Tony, conveniently having 2 for the end of the movie. So that's pretty much where we're at. Thanos created a new timeline, the No Thanos timeline. It either was a paradise or he killed Earth far, far early, got pin particles or reverse engineered them, came back to the current timeline with Nebula, arrived here, died, he's dead here, we're good. And then we go back in time where we have now got confirmation that there is a timeline with 2 Steve Rogers being badasses. So Super Steve right here, right there. So yeah, that's basically it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know basically what's going on. I'm stumbling on my words right now because I'm trying to write a message to Dan, but you won't see it until afterwards. It's really fun. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this. My next little rant video that I want to do is, what the hell did the MCU do to Hulk? I was going to make it today, but then they came out with that whole statement about the Thanos situation. And I was kind of like, ooh, it's kind of perfect because they fully explain time travel. So yeah, we're going to talk about why the Hulk went from being like the strongest that there is to selfie. And I'll see you guys next time right here at Comic Storian. If you want to talk with me more directly about this theory, leave a comment down below. I have been scanning through these Avengers 4 theories and rant videos. And you can also follow me on Twitter at Comic Storian. It's great. You can also let me know any other particular things you may think I have a problem with in the movie. Like I said, Hulk is next, and I'm already going to be having a wonderful rant about why The Flash was amazing for this season and then went to crap. Well, whatever, that's another point. And if you like Whiteboard, his name is Dan. He's on the Comics Experiment. You can find him at Dan T Streamer on Twitter and on Twitch. Go away, Whiteboard. See you guys next time. Why is it thumbs up? What am I? G.I. Joe! All right, guys. Avengers Endgame. It's an incredible movie. It's a feat of cinematic history. Okay, it's literally 11 years building up to one of the most incredible endings I have ever seen. And that is as far as I'm going to say without giving you spoilers. So, if you've come to my video, this is now spoiler territory. I am going to talk about Avengers Endgame with the primary focus of this video being the problem with Captain America. Because there is a problem. Because I want to state, as incredible as this movie is, as much as I love every minute of it, as much as those 3 hours did not even pass, as much as I had to hold all my pee in and only go one time and barely even notice I had to go again, it's a time travel movie and therefore, by definition, breaks itself into 1,000 pieces. So, as much as I want to say, just ignore the time travel stuff and just go into the movie and enjoy it. It's a great action flick. Some of your favorite heroes are going to be in it. You're going to see some amazing set pieces. I have already had people wanting to debate the time travel stuff with me. So, for the sake of fun, I'll talk about why Captain America basically is ruined by the concepts that are presented at the end of this movie. You want to do that? Well, you're at the video, so this is like your chance to leave. All right, cool. So, time travel. I'm going to need some help here. Dan, we don't have any other way to put this up here. Okay, so so by the laws of time travel in this movie, okay, so we got to start from there. Actually, no, before we get to that, I'll get to you in a minute, Dan. Just stay there. So spoiler territory beyond belief. The end of the movie, we discover time travel and how it works. Steve Rogers takes the stones and the hammer from Thor, and he's going to go back in time and place all of these items back. He's then supposed to return to the current time, and nothing is adjusted. Nothing has changed. That's how it's going to be. Because as we've learned from the movie's own logic, okay, time works like this. Straight line. And so Steve Rogers here can travel to, so like Infinity Stone is taken here, he can travel to here, take the stone, come back, use the stone, okay? And then if he puts it back, nothing has changed. That's the rules of this movie. Now, if Steve Rogers here goes back and takes a stone and then doesn't return it, this is a diverging timeline, okay? So this is no stone timeline, no stone, okay? It's just no stone timeline, okay? Now, the reason behind this is stated by the Hulk in the movie. You would not have gone back to this point if this timeline had never happened. So your timeline, by default, still happened in your timeline. You went back and created an alternate timeline. Okay? I hope we're all tracking that. So if I were to go back to the day that I hired Dan here in the company, and I said, Dan, you're not hired, that would create a diverging timeline in which Dan would not work for us. But this timeline in which I'm making Dan stand here with a whiteboard for me completely exists still. All right, so I'm erasing, Dan. You're good. You're doing good. You're doing good. Your job's great. Okay, so now at the end of our movie, we're here. So we're here at the end of the movie, right? Steve Rogers. He's going to go back and he's going to put things back in various timelines so that we stay straight. Okay? So everything that was taken is going back so that everything happens as it's supposed to, and no timeline elements are actually broken. We're going to ignore the fact right now that Thanos coming from 2014 to 2017 and then dying completely breaks that timeline. So you got the Thanos timeline here. We're also going to ignore the fact that Loki took the Tesseract in another timeline. So that's like over here. So we're just going to ignore that even happened. Cap went back and fixed this timeline. Okay? So that's what happened. Now, as we discovered at the end of the movie, he went back in time to Peggy Carter here. It's an undetermined time. I tried to find some actual hardcore evidence. The general assumption is it's between the 40s and the 50s. He went back and he met her and decided to marry her. Now, this is the Captain America problem. Okay, there's, I think, 3 or 4 possibilities as to what happened to get us back to here, because as we discover, old man Steve is right here. Okay, old man Steve. And our quick cutaway, Dan informed me that it may have been Sharon. Honestly, it doesn't matter if it's Peggy or Sharon, they're both a Carter. He went to the older Carter, okay? So the old man Steve here. So this means that he went back to this timeline and so the first possibility is how this happened. He went back to the older Carter, did the entire timeline. Now this means Steve watched himself freeze, watched Bucky be tortured, watched the Avengers come together, watched Howard Stark die, watched Hydra take over the entirety. Also let his niece or daughter or however the Carters are actually linked together, because I've seen all kinds of different stuff. However the Carters linked the younger Carter make out with his younger self. All of this happened in this timeline for him to get back to this point. Now, here's the problems with that. That goes against Captain America, the guy whose slogan is, I can keep doing this all day. Does that mean that he can keep doing this all day until 2019, and then he just kind of stops? And then so now he just watches everything go wrong? And you can go ahead and argue, well, he didn't want to make a diverging timeline, right? He didn't want splinters all over the place. So you mean to tell me that Captain America, the guy who fought his best friend for his own morals, watched thousands of people die in New York to aliens? He watched Sokovia fall, creating all these issues? You mean to tell me, knowing what Thanos was going to do, he let Thanos do half the things he was going to do, including stabbing people out of existence? He just stood by while everyone died around him, going with the mentality of, well, it has to happen. I can't change things. It goes against everything. And like I said, I can keep doing this all day. They even say it in the movie, and he goes, I know. So you mean to tell me he can do this all day? He's never going to quit until he finds an opportunity to go to the love of his life. You know, and then what about his saying to Bucky, I'm with you to the end of the road, till I find something better, you know, till I can go back in time. So this is what I think actually happened, and we're supposed to ignore the fact that Captain America just watched everything happen. Because honestly, it's a movie. We had to write out Chris Evans somehow, and that's just what we're going with. And I will accept that. I will. Like, that's just the ending for Chris Evans. I'm kind of glad you didn't kill everyone in the movie. You wrote him out of the movie series. He can no longer come back. This is how we're going to do it. And I will accept that under the movie logic of it's time travel, and if you try to overthink it, it's going to break, and you're not going to make any sense. Now, here's the alternatives that I'm seeing people argue with. One, people are stating that he goes back to this time period, okay, meets the older Carter, and basically lives out in a different timeline, preventing everything, okay? This is we're going to call Super Steve. So people are stating that there's an alternate timeline now where Steve just stuck around with her. He prevented Hydra. He saved Bucky. He prevented the death of Howard Stark, prevented the need of the Avengers, stopped the aliens on his own. All of that was done by a superhero team of Steve and older Carter. That's what they did. That doesn't work either. Okay, so based upon this logic, one of two things would have to have happened for Super Steve's timeline to exist. One, He goes back in time, and we have seen in this movie the timelines. They don't you don't replace yourself. This isn't Quantum Leap. This isn't like one of those movies where you go back in time and you are yourself. You go back in time and you are there. He fought himself in the movie, so we know that this is how things work. So that means when he went back to here, one of two things happened. One, there's now two Steve Rogers, and they're their own Captain Americas. So he went back, prevented all this, became Super Steve, and the way he did that is there's two of them, because you have to let the original exist. Or what did he ask that one to retire? Hey man, I got this. Just go chill. But then we run back into the same problem. The second Steve wouldn't go chill. Based on the character that we have known for 10 years, he would not sit idly by while everyone else did all the work for him. Possibility two. Steve allowed himself to still be frozen and then left himself there. Like that's the other possibility. Oh, cool. I'm frozen in this timeline. I'm going to take his life. That's exactly what he would have done. So Super Steve would not work, because neither of those make any sense either. So that doesn't work. So we're literally at a point now where either there's two Steve Rogers in an alternate timeline. Also, I love this one. People are stating that if he did the alternate timeline, he somehow went back to this point, recorrected it, went back to his own future, and then they're stating that he would have gone back to here and back to here. If you want to play movie logic and comic book logic, even in comic books, I don't think that happens. I'm pretty sure. In order for this to happen, we'd have to have like some Doctor Strange stuff going on, and it'd be like portal, boom. That's how we'd have to do it. There's the only way that the timeline would function with that. Okay, so this doesn't work. This doesn't work either, because there's either two of them, or he's taking over his own life, because there's two Steve Rogers in this alternate timeline. So this means, in order for the movie to work, he sat by idly and did nothing. Now Dan brought up another idea. What if Steve Rogers works from the backgrounds? Like the older Steve Rogers was like Nick Fury in the background, but once again, so now he was working as Nick Fury as a secret agent and still didn't stop Hydra, still didn't warn people about the aliens, didn't slip a little note, hey, Tony, don't do Ultron, signed a friend. None of that happened at all. What? No. So basically, this timeline is what we have. We have a Steve Rogers that ignored his own morals, his own ethics, everything that makes him Captain America, and watched people die all over the place. He's worse than Bucky. He was giving Bucky crap for killing a couple people as an assassin. You watch thousands die, Steve. But since it's a fun movie and we want to have a good ending for Captain America, let's ignore all that and just go, hey, he went back in time, and what actually happened is he was her husband. Now, the only other flaw in this timeline that I can write away very easily, this was presented to me in the Discord. If he went back in time, then all of the Peggy Carter show is null and void. Not necessarily, because I could not find a concrete time that he went back to. So if he went back to the 1940s, found that, she's going to live this crazy life, I'll go right after that. And then she secretly had him as a husband, secretly told nobody. He took a new name. He's just an old man living with her. And then she had to let the timeline play out. So she's like, hey, call my younger self in. We're going to do that. By the way, don't mention that he's making out with his own, niece, aunt, uncle, however the family's getting all weird now. And he ignored all the good stuff. So let me know what you guys think. Dan, you can put that down now. I've done a bunch of scribbles. Actually, hold on. I want to squeegee board more often when I do these. All right, you can put that down now. You may go. Just go. There you go. So what do you guys think? That's the problem with Captain America, in my opinion. No matter which of these timelines, he's doing something that breaks the moral and ethical code that Captain America has created and we've known him for the last 11 years of the MCU. So what do you think? And like I said, I'm saying it again right now. In all honesty, this is just crazy nitpick. Could we not discuss this? Because everyone's been hitting me up could we just not discuss this? And we all just go, hey man, went back in time, got the girl of his dreams, and had a happy ending. Because that's what I want to say, but you all want to argue. So I get to make a video. All right, let me know if you like this kind of a video, because I have a few other problems I have with the movie that I think are fun to discuss, not nitpicky to the point where we're gonna have an issue. But what the hell happened with Professor Hulk? Did we just got? I thought it'd be cool to be both. What, you mean to tell me we had 3 movies of arguing and then we're cool? Did we miss a page? And what about the problems with Black Widow getting another movie and dying? But we're way in spoiler territory. If you left through that and were like, Benny, you still hadn't spoiled for me, or maybe I just broke your mind. I don't know. I got plenty of other things that are fun to nitpick and we can have a lot of fun with. So let me know in the comments down below if you want this. And either way, I'll see you next time right here at Comic Storian, where I'm also going to be nitpicking the Flash TV show soon. Because what the hell they do?
Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button if you guys are enjoying the content that we're throwing up. And make sure you guys hit the like button if you enjoy the video. And yeah, let's begin. You know, last time we made a video like this, we were talking about like events, right? Like it gets worse, like the events that could happen after Avengers Endgame, they could get worse. I want to talk about Thanos, because here's the thing. Like, non-comic book readers will look at Avengers Endgame, rightfully so, right? Because like they don't read comics, so they're not really aware. But they'll look at Avengers Endgame and be like, man, Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, man, he's powerful. I guess this is the end time. No, it's not either. Because like Thanos is not that powerful. Like, here's the thing. Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet is powerful, sure. But he's not like number one, right? It's not like Thanos gets the Infinity Gauntlet and like he's unstoppable. He's one of the most powerful beings in the universe, but he's not the most powerful being in the universe. Here's a crazy thing, all right? I could probably, okay, let's do that. There's like off the top of my head, there's like 5 people roughly, and there's probably more than that, but there's like 5 people I can think of just like that who could probably defeat Thanos. Some it would take longer than others, but they could probably defeat Thanos when he's wielding the power of the Infinity Gauntlet. So, okay, the first one would probably be like classic Doctor Strange, right? Like old school Doctor Strange, 1960s to early 1970s Doctor Strange. And here's the reason why. Back when Doctor Strange first showed up, magic was just like whatever. It was a license to do whatever you wanted to do. If Doctor Strange wanted to like alter the very fabric of reality and turn everybody in the universe into teddy bears, there was a spell for that. Like he could just be like, and do that weird thing with his hands, you know, and then like the spell is done. Like there were no rules. There was no limit to what it is that he could do. Now this changed twice actually. The first time it changed in December of 1992, and the first time was in 1976, and the second time was in 92. So in 1976 there was a story by Marv Wolfman which was kind of weird, and it involved these guys called the Creators. And the whole basis was that they were like extra dimensional beings, and they showed up in the main Marvel universe, and they wanted to turn like the stars into their own source of energy. It was crazy. It was a wonky and weird story, like most of them were with Doctor Strange. I mean, he literally started in a lot of comics called Strange Tales. So I guess it kind of makes sense that it's supposed to be strange and kooky and weird and so on. In any event, over the course of the story, Doctor Strange loses the mantle of Sorcerer Supreme and all the powers that go with it, and then eventually he gets it back, but his powers are reduced slightly. Now, why does this matter? Well, because fast forward, almost 20 years, then Infinity Gauntlet happens. And so Doctor Strange, during the events of Infinity Gauntlet, is not as powerful as he was in like 1965 or 66 or 67 or any of those. Like if it was classic Doctor Strange, he would just be like spell cast, and then like that would be it. But there has to be a spell to remove the Infinity Gauntlet, to eliminate the power of the Infinity Gauntlet, to shut it down. And like he would use that spell, and then the conflict would be done. Now, the second time that happened is when Doctor Strange lost a huge amount of his power, right? Like it was called the War of the Seven Spheres, and this dealt with a group called the Vishanti. Now, when it comes to Doctor Strange, Stephen Strange does not actually have any power unto himself. He uses the powers of others, right? Like they lend their power to him. Most of the power he gets comes from the Vishanti, which is a triumvirate. It's 3 people, like Batum and so on and so forth. During the War of the Seven Spheres, which was like this prophesized conflict between like all these magical entities that existed throughout the Marvel Universe, that somewhere along the line they were going to go to war with each other. And so when that happened, Doctor Strange was recruited by the Vishanti to fight in their war, but he declined. He turned them down and said, like, I'm not leaving Earth. My duty is here. I'm this universe's Sorcerer Supreme. I don't fight on your behalf. And so they said, okay, fine. And they took away all the power that they allowed him to use. And so his power was reduced by like 60%. Now, eventually, Doctor Strange went away for a little while. That led into Brother Voodoo, and then Doctor Strange came back. But when he did, he had far less power than he did before. And he's basically been at that power ever since. During Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers, he tried to sell his soul for 100% power, and it didn't work. But still, like he's, classic Doctor Strange was crazy powerful. Nowadays, not so much. He's a stopgap measure. He does some cool spells every once in a while, but he's vastly weaker in comparison to where he used to be. Right now, after Doctor Strange, I'd say Protege. Protege, that's the crazy thing. Protege's power, Protege's ability to control, to use his power is mimicry, basically. Protege can copy the powers of anybody that he sees, and there's no upper limit. But it's not even really like the power they wield. I guess it's not really like power that's innate to them. It's any kind of power whatsoever, right? And like the Infinity Gauntlet just harnesses the power of the universe. That's all it does. basically it harnesses the power of time travel, of the ability to read minds. It harnesses the power of like, space itself, like teleporting from one location to the next, the ability to alter the fundamental forces of reality. That's all it is. Like, it basically allows you to control. It turns the universe into clay, and you can turn that clay into whatever you want it to be. Protege, if fighting Thanos, would look at the power of the Infinity Gauntlet when Thanos used it, and then immediately be able to copy that power, right? So, like, if Thanos was fighting Protege, or like, the two of them are staring each other down, and Thanos like wields the Infinity Gauntlet, uses the Infinity Gauntlet, and turns Protege into a statue, Protege would turn himself back, because he would know, he would look at that and say, okay, I can duplicate that power now. All he has to do is watch someone use it. Now, ideally for Protege to defeat Thanos, Protege would be watching Thanos and like watch him use the power of the Infinity Gauntlet on other people, and then duplicate those powers. And at that point, it would run into a stalemate. Anybody who can wield a cosmic cube can defeat Thanos, because the cosmic cubes and the Infinity Gauntlet are equal in power, right? Like, it's just two different means. And the reason why is because the cosmic cubes are the powers of the Beyonder, and that leads us into the Beyonders. Like, Molecule Man and the Beyonder are basically one and the same, right? Like, that was established in like Fantastic Four 214 or something like that, the unofficial sequel to Secret Wars in 1984. Because the way this worked out originally is like one day, like all the heroes and villains showed up on two separate ships, right? Like, you had the villains on one ship, you had the heroes on the other ship, and then like some disembodied voice from a rift in the universe shows up and says like, I am from beyond, all you guys basically have to fight each other to the death, and whoever wins, I will give you whatever your heart desires. And like, that was it, right? Like, Galactus was there, and Galactus was like, I desire to not hunger all the time. So he went to go attack the Beyonder and was like brushed off, and it was kind of crazy. But at the same time, you had the Molecule Man Owen Reese. And during the events of Secret Wars, Dr. Doom was talking to Owen Reese and basically said, hey, look, you walk around with this stupid little wand because you had your experiment that allows you to, basically like manipulate reality in a localized space. But the truth is that you can manipulate reality on a multiversal scale. You just have mental blocks in place because you don't have any confidence. You don't believe in yourself. And Owen Reese went forward as like this multiversal force. Like, it was crazy. He was more powerful than Living Tribunal. He was more powerful than everyone, right? Like, it was insane how much power he had. Like, Thanos comes walking along with the Infinity Gauntlet and is like, Molecule Man, Owen Reese, I challenge you to a fight. He'd be like, ah, and like wave his hand, and that would be the end of that. And like that, it would take nothing. Now, all that changes, right? Like, where the Beyonder and the Molecule Man Owen Reese were considered like two distinctly different beings. What ended up happening is in the unofficial Secret Wars 3, again, like this weird little Fantastic Four story, that you end up learning about like the nature of the Beyonders, right? Like, you have the Beyonder, then you have the Beyonders. And the way this worked out is the Beyonders were from like the Beyond realm, right? Like, just this place outside the multiverse where time passed in a linear fashion. They couldn't travel forwards or backwards, but they were basically way beyond the power of almost anybody that we'd ever seen that ever existed in the Marvel multiverse, right? Like, possibly even the one above all, although that was never really confirmed. And what ends up happening is that when cosmic cubes are created in Marvel Comics, then what you do is you basically open up a portal to the realm of the Beyonders and siphon some of that energy off. And when the Molecule Man Owen Reese first gained his powers in his experiment, what he did was create a cosmic cube. The problem is that there was no containment cube for that energy to go into. And so half the energy went into Owen Reese, and the other half just kind of dissipated out into the universe and became the Beyonder from the first Secret Wars. And so when all that took place, basically what you had is you had a guy, Owen Reese, who was like, this omniversal, super powerful guy, who was essentially just like a walking, talking cosmic cube. And that was basically what it was. Now, eventually all that gets changed, and they kind of get, Beyonder and Molecule Man get merged into like a singular cosmic cube, and it gets kind of weird. But that brings in the Beyonders. Like, during the whole thing about the Beyonders, like, Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet wouldn't stand a chance. Not a chance. These were guys who destroyed the Living Tribunal, right? Like to give you perspective here, you have the events of Infinity Gauntlet, then you have the Infinity Gauntlet aftermath. And then the Infinity Gauntlet aftermath, Adam Warlock gets the gauntlet and then like stops the whole conflict, and then is immediately taken to like the dimension of manifestations or whatever it is, and basically taken to like this realm where like all the cosmic entities meet, and they put him on trial. And like Eternity and Infinity and the living, the entities in the main Marvel universe basically say that guy cannot wield the Infinity Gauntlet. Thanos just wanted to replace me, Eternity, as like the top cosmic entity. This guy wants to rule alongside me. It's an imbalance of magical energy. And what you end up learning is that when Adam Warlock got the Infinity Gauntlet, he purged good and evil from himself. And so he was neither good nor evil. He just existed. There was no telling what it was that he was going to do. He didn't really sway either way. Now, during this whole trial, Adam Warlock like freaks out, right? He's just like, whatever, you guys can't tell me what to do. I've got absolute power. And the Living Tribunal's like, no, you don't either, and like shuts down the Infinity Gauntlet. And it's just this, it's literally just like this giant glove thing on his hand with some really pretty jewels, and that's really all it is. That's like after like the Infinity or the Living Tribunal literally waves his hand, and like that's the end of that. Like it's done. And so like you're talking about somebody that powerful, right? Who can just shut down the Infinity Gauntlet without a blink. All right. During Jonathan Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers, like the multiversal collapse is happening. Nobody knows why the multiverse is coming to an end and why worlds are crashing into each other, universes are crashing into each other, and so on. And so in the early days, when it all first happened, when Reed Richards finds out about it, when Iron Man first finds out about it, and Black Panther and all those guys, and then we form the Illuminati, secretly, like Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, the Fantastic Four, sends Ant-Man, Hank Pym, sends Hank Pym into the multiverse and says, hey, find out what's going on. And along the way, he sees some crazy stuff. So he comes back, right? Like later on, he comes back and says, hey, look, like, we're all basically gonna die. Like there's pretty much nothing we can do. And they're like, well, what do you mean, man? There's got to be a chance. And he's like, no, you don't understand what's happening out there. Like as far as you're aware, it's just like universes crashing into each other, and like the best we can do is destroy another world before it crashes in ours and save our universe. That's what you're doing. All right. I was floating through space, and like I was like floating through and like in and out of different universes. And then eventually I stumbled across the Beyonders, the White Lords of Wild Space, just massacring cosmic entities, just like wiping out Celestials and all these different Galactuses and like the Living Tribunal, like just wiping them all out, like literally just killing them all. And it's all happening across every single universe, all at the same time. And he's like, it's the most insane thing I've ever seen. I have never seen any group of people that have just walked into a universe and just destroyed all the cosmic entities. They never had a chance. Like it was a massacre, right? Like it was crazy. Like it was the most bonkers thing that I had ever seen. And like you take those guys, right? Like who can destroy the Living Tribunal? Like and here's the thing, it took 3 of them, right? Like 3 of them just blasted, and the Living Tribunal never even had a chance. That's the thing. It wasn't like this long, drawn-out fight between the Living Tribunal and the Beyonders that spanned like a whole comic, like 22 pages. No. That shit was 3 pages long. It was the Living Tribunal showing up. Like it shows up like this, right? Just like bam, like Hank Pym's like I turned around and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The multiverse given form, and like the Living Tribunal standing out there like that. It's like I'm passing judgment on you, and the Beyonders are just like don't care. And like the 3 of them are just like bam, and they literally destroy the Living Tribunal, and a piece of them falls in every single universe. No way Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet would stand a chance. Not a chance. Like, you've got Mad Jim Jaspers with the Jaspers Warp. Here's the problem. Mad Jim Jaspers with the Jaspers Warp, that would take time. The Jaspers Warp takes time to emanate out from Jim Jaspers himself and spread throughout the universe and eventually into the multiverse. Now, we know how powerful it was because during the original story on Earth 238 or whatever it was, the original Jim Jaspers, who wasn't even as powerful as the main Marvel version, but like the original Jim Jaspers, when the Jaspers Warp emanated, they had to destroy his universe. Otherwise, the Jaspers Warp would have spread into the multiverse and literally like just torn it all asunder and screwed everything up. So they had to wipe his universe from existence in order to stop him. He was so powerful, they had to nullify his universe. They had to wipe it off the face of the multiverse so that it wouldn't become a threat to anybody else. They quarantined it. And it was like, okay, like, and you look at that, and no way Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet stands a chance against that guy. Here's the thing. Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet's powerful, but he's just not that powerful. Like, there was one point in the comics when Galactus died, and then you realize that what Galactus was doing was basically like he was a gatekeeper for Abraxas. And like Abraxas comes out. Abraxas, he represents the like he's just pure rampage, like pure destruction. Abraxas jumps from one universe to the next, just hopping from one universe to the next, wiping out Galactuses, like just killing every single Galactus he comes across, just like wiping them all out without batting an eye. The guy's the representation of multiversal destruction. Like what it takes is like literally Franklin Richards resurrecting Galactus from the dead and then giving him the ultimate nullifier and then pointing it at Abraxas and like wiping him out. Or maybe it's Reed Richards who does it, but it takes the ultimate nullifier, right? Like this plot device. It takes a plot device to wipe him out. The ultimate nullifier is just a device you use to point at something and then like it never existed. And like that's literally all it is. But leaving out cosmic entities like Abraxas, there are people out there who would just crush, Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. Anybody really the heart of the universe would obliterate him. Like Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet is not that powerful. He's powerful, but he's not like the end time powerful. It's not like the buck stops here. No, it doesn't. Like the buck stops here on its way to what's next. Like that's literally how that works. Like that's the thing. That is, man, casual moviegoers. You guys who don't usually read comics, you are not prepared. There are so many things out there that are way beyond the power of Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. If Dormammu left the dark dimension and showed up in full power in the main Marvel dimension, not a chance Thanos would be able to defeat him. Man-God would probably not fall to Thanos. Man-God can wield magical energy. More so than that, Man-God's immortal, indestructible, and cannot be defeated. Like as long as hatred exists, the only way for Thanos to successfully defeat Man-God is to wipe out all life in the universe and then become a being of pure good that has no form of hatred whatsoever, and then Man-God would be depowered. And when I say all life, I mean every living organism. Like everything that could possibly feel any emotion whatsoever would have to be wiped out. Because if it can feel hate, Man-God will continue to exist at absolute, at top, peak power. And Man-God, as he exists right now, isn't even Man-God from the 1980s. In the 1980s, he was a boss. It was nuts. Man-God is the only thing that Odin was afraid of, right? Like Man-God would storm Asgard, and Odin would be like, dude, man, we are screwed. Like, dude, run! That's what it would come down to. Flee for your lives! Like, that's literally what it would turn into. Like, Man-God storms Asgard. Like, they're all gonna die. There are beings out there that are just crazy powerful in comparison to Thanos. Like, even with the Infinity Gauntlet. So it gets kind of nuts when you start getting into this whole thing with comics. Like, Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, sure, it's cool, and it looks pretty, and it can probably sell for a pretty penny, for a lot of money, but, for real, though, he's just not that powerful. Not in comparison. I mean, here's the thing. In comparison to 99% of the population out there, or the various super beings out there, sure, Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet could defeat them. But for that 1%, they would crush them, and not even by a little bit. By a lot. They would mop the floor with him. They would absolutely obliterate him, and it wouldn't even be fair. It wouldn't even be funny. It would be Thanos just coming along with those little Infinity Gauntlet, and they would just pummel him. They would just shut the gauntlet down, and then that would be it. Because when you're talking about beings whose power transcends the singular universe, no way Thanos can stand a chance. Because you're talking about a being who can control energy and matter on a multiversal scale. They could turn the Infinity Gauntlet into cornflakes. That's literally what they could do, right? Thanos is just I've got the Infinity Gauntlet. No, you don't. You got a box of Wheaties on your hand. So go back home. And you would look at it and just be a giant box of Wheaties on his hand. That's what they could do. It'd be kind of bonkers. So yeah, Avengers Endgame's awesome, but if they stick with the comics and they give us some of the beings that are out there, it's only the tip of the iceberg. It'll be like Full Metal Alchemist, right? You think you know what's going on, and then you get to the end, and then you realize you had no idea what was going on, and you kind of long for the day when it was just some girl being merged with a dog. It gets kind of bonkers. I know people are gonna be like, "Don't bring up Nina," dude. That was cool. I actually thought it was kind of a cool little thing. It was kind of wild. This is like a girl dog. It's kind of creepy, but kind of cool at the same time. With that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this video to an end. If you are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the sub button to become part of the Rob 4. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop some likes. Drop some likes right now, and I will catch you all later. Peace.
Okay, well, we've got another video down. Just gonna skip that advert. Hopefully we've got something good next. I'm after the end of the video. But yeah, we're getting the construction lines done. We're pretty much done now. I've just got a few more bits on the
aspiration. I want to be a senior leader.
There's an advert.
With you for university. I was able to build an.
Okay.
Right, okay, I'm going to leave it there for a second. Sounds like he's going to have him going again. I want to get some more Infinity War stuff going up. Well, Endgame stuff going up, because that's what the video is about. So bear with me. I'm going to flick over the screen, look on my YouTube, my personal YouTube channel, my personal history, sorry, and find something else to listen to, because I did have a few things queued up already. So give me a minute. There we go. Right. Let's have Nobody Saw Coming in Marvel's Endgame. Let's have that. That's for about 15 minutes. That's a good length of video. Let's get that one going, guys. Again, leave those comments coming in. Thank you very much for keep on chatting, and I will endeavor get some more done.
In the seemingly endless length of time since the end of Avengers Infinity War and the beginning of
You will be able to see all of the videos like this when I am doing this digitally and I'm recording, guys, because I use screen capture things. You can't obviously do it when I'm using the camera, because boop, 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 there's the camera.
And see if you managed to predict any of them. We made no shortage.
If you want to watch that, guys, for yourself, then definitely head on over.
Things we reasonably
Crap,
expected
what
to
have I
see
done?
and things on our comic book fan wish list. One of the things we beyond hoped for was Captain
There we
America
go.
wielding Mjolnir, which seemed kind of crazy since it was destroyed during Thor Ragnarok. But thanks to some time-traveling shenanigans, it ended up in the present-day MCU, and Steve Rogers totally wielded it just like the God of Thunder himself. Not only did this make an epic battle scene all the more amazing, but it was a stark contrast to the last time we saw Steve trying to pick up the legendary Uru weapon. During Avengers Age of Ultron, we saw him try to lift it unsuccessfully, yet in Endgame, he was swinging it around like a total pro. One of the big questions we had following the end of Infinity War was, where the heck was Hawkeye? Sure, we know Clint Barton ended up getting grounded during Captain America Civil War, but come on! Was he really going to let a little thing like an ankle monitor stand between him and saving half-ball life in the universe? But when we saw the trailers for Endgame, we got super excited for the new sword-wielding Clint Barton. Less excited for his mohawk and casual tank top use, but we're not going to get into that right now. Comic book fans were excited to see Clint's darker, edgier alter ego Ronin in the MCU. But there's just one small problem. Nobody ever actually called him Ronin. None of his friends, even Clint himself. The word Ronin is never uttered in the movie. This seems like a strange thing to leave out, especially since we were all expecting it. During one of the many trailers for Avengers Endgame, we learned an interesting bit of information. Natasha Romanoff stated that Thanos had used the Infinity Gauntlet one additional time following the decimation, because apparently they have Infinity Stone tracking software available at Avengers headquarters. Nebula claimed to know where Thanos was, but could only recall the Garden, which wasn't very helpful. Sorry, Nebula, but we all really wanted to know what Thanos used his second Infinity Wish on. It turns out his second wish was to get rid of the Infinity Stones entirely. It very nearly got rid of Thanos himself, of course, but he said it was to remove the temptation to use them again. We aren't sure whether he meant solely for himself or for other people who might come after them and disrupt his farming, but they were definitely destroyed. Going into Avengers Endgame, there was a rumor that all of the footage from the trailer was taken from the first half hour or so of the movie. When questioned about this, Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige called the rumor somewhat accurate, which in most people's minds translated to absolutely 100% the truth. So with that in mind, we were pretty darn surprised to see Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man facing off against Thanos so soon in the movie. Well, as we all know, the trailer footage wasn't solely from the beginning of the film, but our heroes did indeed end up facing Thanos much sooner than we thought. They pretty much go right to him, and when they find him, well, let's just say Thor aims for the head this time. I can't believe we just saw that in a Disney movie. Maybe there's hope for more R-rated superhero movies after all. Becoming one of the biggest stars in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is no easy task. Chris Evans claims that when he first started getting in shape to play Captain America, he actually threw up as a result of exercising so vigorously. Chris Hemsworth also had to get shredded to play the God of Thunder, but apparently he got to take it easy in preparation for Endgame. That's because Thor showed up rocking a big old beer belly, probably as a result of the many kegs of beer he drank. We have to say we definitely didn't anticipate seeing Thor Odinson walking around with his gut hanging out, yelling at kids on Fortnite. Yeah, it's clear we were really out of our element when it came to predicting what was going to go down with the God of Thunder. As far as MCU movies go, most people consider Thor and Thor the Dark World to be pretty unremarkable entries. They're not terrible by any means, but they don't hold up to some of the finer films in the MCU library. Still, when Frigga died, it was pretty heartbreaking. Even Loki got emotional about it. We didn't expect to see Frigga again, especially in such a prominent role. Natalie Portman, who played Jane Foster, was at the Endgame premiere, causing many fans to wonder if her character was returning to the MCU. But instead, we got a brief glimpse of Jane Foster at a sweet scene with Thor reunited with his beloved mother. Everybody knows Disney now has access to the Fox library of characters, a switch which made comic book fans understandably nervous. It's no secret that the House of Mouse capitalizes on being family-friendly, and many felt that this would be incompatible with the often violent world of superheroes. But it seems like Disney and Marvel struck a harmonious PG-13 balance which made both sides happy. But it really seemed like Endgame pushed the limits of what it means to be family-friendly. There were several dramatic cuss words uttered at various points in the movie, along with a casual decapitation and a guy bleeding out after an interaction with Clint Barton. This actually gives us some hope for the future of the Deadpool franchise if the Merc with the Mouth ever joins the MCU. When the movie Captain Marvel was announced, we were assured that Captain Marvel was going to be the strongest hero the MCU had ever seen, which would have made sense if we actually got to see her during Avengers Endgame. Yeah, she showed up to rescue Tony Stark and Nebula, and she was there during the final battle against Thanos, but the rest of the time she was totally missing in action. We were excited to see her interacting with other great Marvel heroes, and establishing a brand new group dynamic which would carry over into Phase 4. But instead we got a weak excuse about there being in trouble elsewhere in the galaxy, and that's about it. It really seems like Marvel Studios was hedging their bets on whether Captain Marvel would be a hit, so they didn't include her much in Endgame just to be safe. But considering her movie made over $1 billion, we have a feeling we'll see her in the MCU again very soon. When we first met Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy, she was unequivocally a villain. Although her sister Gamora tried to bring her over to the light side, Nebula was still understandably hung up on their traumatic childhood. While they eventually made peace with one another, Nebula didn't really have the same sort of virtuous motivations that many other characters do. In fact, other than destroying Thanos, we weren't sure what Nebula wanted out of life. So it was a pleasant surprise when we saw a kinder, gentler Nebula in Endgame. Well, kinder and gentler than what we were used to, at least. If you watched Infinity War, you probably noticed that the concept of sacrifice came up a lot. It seemed like barely a moment passed without someone giving up something or a character talking about the importance of giving things up for the sake of others. So it definitely wasn't a surprise that someone had to be sacrificed at some point in Endgame. But it was surprising who ended up losing their life. We had predicted that someone would have to perish in order to obtain the Soul Stone, but older Avengers like Tony Stark and Steve Rogers seemed like safe bets. Yet it was ultimately Natasha Romanoff who sacrificed herself to save the day, which was both shocking and heartbreaking. Well, it looks like the Black Widow standalone movie is definitely going to be a prequel after all, or at least we hope so. Speaking of heroes we thought would end up being sacrificed to save the day, we have Steve Rogers. We saw him try to give his own life to save others in Captain America: The First Avenger, but he really just ended up taking a long nap to save others. Somehow that just doesn't sound as heroic. So when it came time to guess who was going to take one for the team in Endgame, Steve Rogers definitely seemed like a safe bet, except that he didn't sacrifice himself at all. He took a leisurely jaunt back in time so he could live out his life smooching his one true love, Peggy Carter, instead of her great niece, Sharon Carter. Yeah, we're not sure how that one works out either. In Game of Thrones, there must always be a Stark in Winterfell, and in the MCU, there must always be a Captain America. We had a feeling Steve Rogers wasn't going to be carrying on the title, mostly because we thought he wasn't going to survive. But this begs the question of who would be the new Captain America. He's more than just a guy who throws a shield around. He's an icon who represents certain ideals and brings a specific set of morality to the Avengers. In the comic books, many characters have taken on the mantle of Captain America, including Bucky Barnes and Sam Wilson. We had a feeling Steve would pass on the shield to someone else, but we didn't think it was going to be Falcon. For one, he's not a very prominent MCU hero, and he and Steve hardly have the adorable best friendship that Steve and Bucky have. Yet, despite these issues, Sam is the new Captain America, and we're definitely excited about seeing him take on the role. Ever since Thor Ragnarok came out, fans have been predicting we'd see Professor Hulk in the MCU. Bruce Banner and the Incredible Hulk have been at odds for so long, and in that movie it became clear that the MCU version of Hulk is more than just a thoughtless smashing machine. In the comic books, Professor Hulk is a fusion of the brilliant Bruce Banner and a super strong Hulk, and we were definitely expecting him to show up in Endgame. But what we didn't expect was how much the public took to him. Kids were even trying to take selfies with Professor Hulk, which was honestly surprising considering how imposing he is. During Spider-Man Homecoming, we even heard students speaking ill of Bruce Banner and the Hulk. But now it seems like they can't get enough of the guy. Kids these days and their fickle superhero loyalties. A large number of Endgame theories had to do with Loki, and it's not hard to see why. He always seems to have a trick or 20 up his sleeve. He's constantly coming back to life, and the way he supposedly perished in Infinity War was just strange. It definitely seemed like he was up to something. But what? How would he survive and continue his journey in the MCU after being throttled by Thanos? Apparently by just disappearing? When Tony Stark and Scott Lang try to retrieve the Tesseract, Loki gets a hold of it and immediately vanishes, never to be seen again. While this was frustrating, because where the heck is he? It also gave us hope that he's still out there somewhere. And now we desperately need to know where. It's weird that Loki just kind of vanished during the movie. It's clear that Marvel Studios is making an effort to become more inclusive, and we're definitely here for it. Movies like Black Panther and Captain Marvel broke down superhero stereotypes, and were massive successes at the box office. And it seems like Marvel isn't stopping there, and is continuing their efforts to be a more inclusive cinematic universe. You might have noticed that they combined a big cameo with a historic Marvel moment. There was finally an open and confirmed gay character in a Marvel movie, and no, it wasn't Steve Rogers and Bucky. Sorry, not sorry to the legions of fans hoping for that to happen. During Steve Rogers' support group meeting, we saw Endgame director Joe Russo telling a story of a date he went on with another man. Now, it was a mild moment, but Joe believes representation is really important. He chose to play the part himself, in order to show the audience that he's invested in bringing more diversity to the MCU. During Infinity War, we here at CBR, along with pretty much everyone else in the universe, loved seeing Thor team up with Rocket and Groot. They made such a great little group, and we were glad to see the friendship between Thor and Rocket grow in Endgame. Of course, Groot couldn't really participate, what with being dusted and all, but we assumed he was there in spirit. We had a lot of predictions for what would happen to Thor once Endgame was over, and most of them involved him rebuilding Asgard. But Thor decided his birthright was no big deal, and he'd rather hop on a spaceship and fly out to parts unknown with his new pals, and also Star-Lord. Asgardians of the Galaxy is the amazing new concept we didn't know we needed until we saw it on the big screen. The rules of Asgardian leadership are honestly almost as confusing as those involving time travel. During the first Thor movie, Odin was totally ready to hand the throne over to Thor, who was clearly nowhere near ready to be king. Despite Loki being brilliant, clever, and desperately wanting the throne, Odin wouldn't even entertain the idea that anyone but Thor should rule. And it seems like Thor was finally ready to take on the role of King of Asgard by the end of Thor Ragnarok. And we thought that would be a big part of Endgame and beyond. Only it totally wasn't. Not only did Thor take off on a spaceship, but he just transferred the ultimate power of Asgard to Valkyrie with a firm handshake. Is that how it's done? It was a strange and frankly anticlimactic moment in an otherwise very exciting movie. Howard Stark was a brilliant man who was good at a great many things, like making weapons, making money, making enemies. But we know he definitely struggled with being a father, and who didn't feel a pain in their heart when Tony revealed his father had never said, "I love you." Seriously, that's even more tragic than when Peter Parker thought Tony was trying to hug him when he was really just opening the car door. We weren't expecting to see Howard Stark again, and definitely not in such a casual manner. We saw a man rushing home to his pregnant wife with two things all women love: flowers and sauerkraut. It was a surprisingly sweet meeting between a father and the grown-up future version of his son. Tony even got to hear his father say he loves him in a weird time travel roundabout way. Way back when we were still piecing together rudimentary Endgame information, an interview with Gwyneth Paltrow popped up. During the interview, she talked about Endgame and mentioned that Tony Stark and Pepper Potts had a child. In the beginning of Infinity War, Tony did mention he had a dream Pepper was pregnant, so this seemed to coincide with what was going on in the MCU. However, many fans assumed it was a classic case of Marvel Studios' misdirection and didn't look too closely into the idea. But it turns out that Mark Ruffalo and Tom Holland aren't the only members of the Marvel spoiler squad, because Tony and Pepper do have an adorable little daughter named Morgan. We thought the only young kid in Tony's life was going to be Peter Parker, but it turns out Paltrow was telling the truth. Everyone knows that a Marvel movie isn't really over until the final credit scene rolls. Of course, there are always those reckless renegades who rush out of the theater the moment the movie's done without a care in the world. But you know, we're sticking around for the post-credit scene. Except this time when we're left waiting and waiting. We're not saying that we stayed in the theater until the lights went out and we were left staring into the void, but Yeah, that's exactly what happened. On the precipice of Phase 4 and the conclusion of so many MCU storylines, it seemed unfathomable to think we wouldn't get at least one bonus scene. Instead, we hear some music playing, and while some
Now using a
viewers
different
claim to
tool,
have heard
guys.
sound
I
effects
don't know if you
which
noticed me
streamline
go down and
variety of
pick it.
things, these are unconfirmed.
It is
At
the
least
hair
we've seen
tool.
surprises
Oh,
didn't
I
stop
call it the
the
hair
movie
tool.
did.
I think actually it's called the hair tool. Let's have a look.
We know you can't resist making predictions
Yeah,
about
it's
upcoming
called the hair
Marvel
tool, and you
movies.
can see
Did
it
you
makes
see
very
any of
good
these
hair.
moments coming? Or were there any others you were totally blindsided by? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section below, and then click on that subscribe button for the latest and greatest videos from CVR. Bye for now.
I wonder what's next.
Avengers Endgame, the culmination of the last 11 years of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is out in the wild, able to be consumed with our eyeballs.
We're in the endgame now.
And judging by the box office numbers so far, you've probably seen it, statistically speaking, that is. So let's chat about it, shall we? We'll be going through the entire film here, so spoilers ahead. Think of this as an addendum of sorts to the MCU recap vid that we put out before the movie was released. We'll summarize it here and add in some commentary where appropriate. So let's get started. The film opened in easily the most depressing way that it could have possibly opened. We get to see Clint Hawkeye Barton and his family having a lovely picnic out near their home, while Barton trains little Barton on how to shoot a bow. He even jokingly calls her Hawkeye at one point as a possible hint to the Young Avengers. Maybe, possibly, kinda. Here's to hoping. Of course, exactly what we think is gonna happen, happens. They turn to dust after Thanos snaps his fingers in Wakanda. This serves as a very shocking introduction to the film that almost perfectly sets up the tone that the first act will wallow in. Crushing sadness and deep feelings of failure, which is something that the next section of the film highlights well, showcasing the movie's penchant for balancing humor with its darker tone as we see Nebula and Tony Stark surviving in the depths of space, bonding over a paper football game despite the fact that they were in a hopeless situation. Luckily, as it turns out, all hope was not actually lost, as Captain Marvel arrived just in time to save them from starvation, at least save Tony from starvation. Does Nebula actually need to eat, being all cyborgish and whatnot? Something to think about. She helps them get back to Earth, where the remaining Avengers, along with Pepper Potts, are waiting for them. This is followed by a little spat between Tony and Captain America, showing that Tony still harbors a lot of anger over the events of Civil War. Even more so, actually, since he blames the team being divided for Thanos being able to win. Can't really argue with him on that point. The team, minus Tony of course, discovered that Thanos had recently used the stones a second time on a far-off planet and figured, hey, now we know where he is. Let's get that fancy glove of his and snap everyone back. So they all hop onto the Guardians of the Galaxy starship and shoot off across the cosmos. Take a second to think about this from Cap's perspective. He was born in the 1920s. To him, it wasn't that long ago he was playing with a ball and stick for fun. And now, he's in space. That is just gotta blow his mind. Anyways, they make it to Thanos' farm and interrupt his dinner, which is just kind of rude, guys. Turns out, though, that they can't really take the stones from him because the last time he used them to destroy them so that the temptation to use them wouldn't be there. That makes sense? This doesn't sit too well with the team, and Thor finally shows that he learned his lesson from the last time and goes for the head. Flash forward 5 years. Yeah, 5 years, which means that this film takes place in 2023, since the beginning was set a month or so after Infinity War that was set in 2018. Math. At this time, the team is spread to the wind. Rocket and Nebula are off gallivanting across the galaxy, as is Captain Marvel, while James Rhodes is on the trail of Barton, who has been spending the last few years hunting down criminals who survived the decimation. All this with Natasha Romanoff running things back at Avengers HQ. Oh yeah, and Cap is off running a survivors support group. Meanwhile, across the country in a storage unit, a rat manages to trigger the control panel in the brown van containing Hank Pym's quantum tunnel thingy, freeing Scott Lang from the quantum realm, where he had been trapped for the past 5 years.
Hello? Ha ha, very funny.
Learning what had happened, he makes his way to Avengers HQ, where he explains to an understandably befuddled Cap and Romanoff that, while it had been 5 years for them, it had only been 5 hours for him, since time works differently in the quantum realm. So wait, wouldn't that mean that Janet Van Dyne and Ant-Man and the Wasp should be significantly younger, since she only would have experienced like a few days or so during her time being trapped in there? Guess this is one of those things that works best if you just don't think about it too hard. Any hooser, Lang then poses an interesting and admittedly fairly bonkers solution for the situation that the world currently finds itself in. Flippin' time travel. Talking about some straight up H.G. Wells stuff here. The plan is to go back in time, grab the stones before Thanos does, return to the present, and snap all of the people taken in the decimation back to existence. Bingo bango. One tiny problem though, for all this to work, the team would need a certified genius to figure out how to properly traverse the quantum realm. And with Hank Pym currently able to fit in a Hoover, that really only leaves them with one option: Tony Stark. Cap, Romanoff, and Lang head out to meet up with Stark at his lakeside home to discuss the idea with him, though he's not a fan and refuses to help, stating that he wouldn't want any potential changes to the timeline to mess with what he has now, specifically his daughter. The trio instead turn to Bruce Banner, who, by this point, has figured out how to reconcile his two halves, Banner and the Hulk, becoming what is essentially Professor Hulk. He agrees to help with their whole effort to build a time machine, though he notes that it's not really his area of expertise. Though without Stark, he is their best bet. With some hope that this crazy plan may actually work, the team sets about gathering the remaining members from across the globe. Rocket and Banner head out to Norway, specifically an area known as New Asgard, where they find a drunk and much fatter Thor, still reeling from his failure to stop Thanos. Also, we get to see that the best character in the entire MCU survived. Ah, heck yeah, you know I'm talking about Korg. After some convincing, Thor reluctantly goes with them back to Avengers HQ, mainly because he is promised beer. Over in Japan, Barton was just getting done brutally finishing off a crime lord when Romanoff shows up. He's not super thrilled about seeing her, being that, he's kind of gone a bit off the deep end, and no one wants their friends to see them like that. When she brings up the fact that he may be able to bring his family back, though, he pretty quickly jumps on board and signs up. After taking some time to break down where, and more importantly, when each of the stones could be found, the team split into several groups. Banner, Cap, Lang, and Stark are sent back to New York, circa 2012. For those of you paying attention, that's the first Avengers film, since it was determined that, at that time, there were 3 stones in the city at once. Banner goes to the Sanctum Sanctorum and finds the Ancient One, who's holding on to the Time Stone. The two talk for quite a while, with the Ancient One explaining that if she gives up the stone now, it will doom her timeline, since time travel in the MCU works kind of like what we see in Back to the Future Part 2, with changes in the past not affecting your present, but instead causing an alternate timeline to be created. So Banner promises to return the stones to their right time when they're done with them, and the Ancient One relents, giving him the Time Stone. Across town, Stark and Lang are attempting to get the Tesseract from 2012 Stark, which doesn't go super well, as a mishap involving 2012 Hulk causes Loki to get free and take the Tesseract himself. Meanwhile, Cap manages to snag Loki's staff from some S.H.I.E.L.D. agents by pretending to be affiliated with Hydra, and he nearly gets away with it scot-free until he runs into his past self, who thinks he is an escaped Loki. The two brawl, and 2023 Cap emerges victorious. So with only 2 stones down, things aren't looking so great. But Stark and Cap devise a plan to go back even further in time to the 70s to grab the Tesseract from S.H.I.E.L.D. This works as the two would also be able to grab extra Pym particles, which they need to return to the present. In the 70s, things go relatively smoothly, with the only major hiccup being Stark running into his father, though this allows Stark to get a little bit of closure in regards to his relationship with Howard Stark, something that has played a rather major role in terms of his character arc throughout the entire franchise. He has had some pretty serious father issues. Thor and Rocket went back to Asgard circa 2013 and managed to snag the Aether from Jane Foster. And Thor also got a sweet moment with his mother, who would actually go on to die later that day. Bit of a bummer there, but as I said, pretty touching moment. Also, Thor grabs Mjolnir because why not? Romanoff and Barton find themselves on Vormir in 2014 and learn from Red Skull, just as Thanos did in Infinity War, that one of them must sacrifice the other in order to gain the Soul Stone. Obviously, the two fight about this, as both of them believe that they should be the one sacrificed. After a bit of a tussle, Romanoff ultimately wins out, throwing herself off the cliff to her death, gaining Barton the Soul Stone. That same year on the planet Morag, Nebula and Rhodes intercept Peter Quill and knock him out before he can acquire the Power Stone, claiming it for themselves. Nebula's presence in the past does cause a bit of an issue though, as her past self's Wi-Fi connection or whatever it is freaks out, since two of the same IP exist on the network, which is apparently a no-no. So she learns about her future self, and Thanos sends her forward in time disguised as 2023 Nebula after capturing the future version of herself. I hope that you're following along pretty well, because some of this time travel stuff does make this a little bit confusing, but I'm sure that you've got it figured out. With all the Infinity Stones now back to the present day, Banner uses them to return everybody previously snapped away back into existence, including some cute little birdies that Lang marvels at, proving that it was, in fact, all living creatures and not just people. Humans, fish, dogs, cats, birds, all of them got hit. The celebration here is a bit short-lived, however, as 2014 Nebula uses the time machine to bring forward in time Thanos and his army.
Destiny arrives all the same, and now it's here.
Who rather quickly devastates the entire Avengers HQ. 2014 Gamora frees 2023 Nebula, and the two confront 2014 Nebula, who had just gained possession of the fancy Iron Infinity Gauntlet from Barton, who had rescued it after the HQ caved in. 2014 Nebula nearly shoots 2014 Gamora, but 2023 Nebula shoots her first. And all of this stuff is really getting confusing, but hopefully you're following along. There's not really a lot that I can do here to make it more clear. The main Avengers trio head out to face off against Thanos, and they do all right, I guess. Though things take a pretty bad turn fairly quickly. Stark gets knocked out, Thor almost gets stabbed, and Cap's shield gets cracked and shattered. But not before Cap picks up Mjolnir, finally paying off the small moment from Age of Ultron where Cap managed to shift the hammer of Thor just a little bit. It was in fact a very awesome moment, but not nearly as awesome as what comes next. Portals open up behind Cap, bringing with them all of the restored heroes. And I really mean all of them. Basically, every living character makes an appearance here, from the big stars like Black Panther, all the way down to the supporting heroes like Wong and Korg. Even Pepper Potts makes her presence known, rocking her own suit of armor. A major battle ensues, pretty much giving all of us Marvel fans all of the awesome superhero-y imagery that we could possibly hope for. Lang and the returned Hope Van Dyne attempt to get the quantum tunnel in the van to work so that they can restore the stones to the past. But Thanos puts a stop to that pretty quickly. Even Captain Marvel herself can't keep the stones away from him, as he is able to claim the gauntlet and attempt to snap his fingers like his future self did in Infinity War. Captain Marvel stops him the first time, and Tony Stark steps up and tackles him. Both heroes fail to stop him from snapping, however, though this time nothing happens, as Stark had taken his chance and stolen the stones right from under his nose, and he goes and snaps himself, dusting both Thanos and his army like he did so many innocents before. This exacts a heavy toll on Stark, however, who is killed by the overwhelming power of the stones, as Rhodes, Spider-Man, and Potts watch on solemnly. They won the day, bringing an end to the Infinity Saga, but at the cost of the original MCU hero. Iron Man was gone, bringing a satisfying end to the character's arc, going from the selfish playboy to the one who would risk everything to do what was right. At his funeral along the shore of his lakeside home, all of the remaining heroes of the MCU stood in reverence of their fallen comrade. Even Iron Man 3's Harley Keener was there, in a nice little nod to the often maligned entry in the MCU. We also see Thor passing off the throne of New Asgard to Valkyrie, stating that it was time for him to try to live his life as he wants, not as he thinks is best for others. He then is seen on the Guardian's ship, where it seems he will be staying for a while. joining the team proper, where he will probably be helping them in their search for the 2014 version of Gamora, who went missing after the battle at Avengers HQ. So basically, the Avengers are once again spread out and doing their own things. But the team's job was not over yet, as the stones still had to be returned to their proper place in time. Cap is chosen for this task and sent back in time with the stones and Mjolnir. Though it is said by Hulk that Cap would return in mere moments, he doesn't. Instead, Falcon and Bucky spot an old man sitting by the lake. Investigating, they discover that it is, in fact, an older Captain America who had taken the opportunity to go back in time to live the life he always dreamed of but could never achieve. A life with his best gal, Peggy Carter. It was seemingly a good life in the end, a deserved rest for the first Avenger, who brings the film to a close by passing his shield on to Falcon, making him the new Captain America, at least symbolically. And that brings with it the end of not just Avengers Endgame, but also the Infinity Saga as a whole. What is next for the MCU? Well, at this point, all we really know is that Spider-Man Far From Home will open an entirely new chapter in the billion-dollar franchise. We may not know much, I guess, but you can be sure that we here at Screen Rant are definitely going to be around with all of our commentary and wild speculation. What did you think about Avengers Endgame? Which part was your favorite? What do you think is in store for the MCU moving forward? Let us know down in the comments below, and while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to Screen Rant for even more great content just like this. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you at the movies.
They told me you were the guy. Okay, guys, I will gonna end it here now because I've got the construction lines and I'm running out of time because it is 3:15. So I've got things that I've got to be getting on with. I will be back again tomorrow. Let me know in the comment section if you want this again live. If you do, I will do it exactly the same time tomorrow, and we'll get on with the colouring and we'll get everything done. So all I can say is thank you very much for watching, guys. I have been Blut084, BLUT084, Art and Games, and this is Iron Man. We will be completing and finishing off this picture tomorrow, guys. Well, the uploading video, unless you guys want me to go live. Do you know what? To be honest with you, I think I will go live. So I'll see you again tomorrow, same time, different day. Don't forget to hit the bell and subscribe so you're there in time. Thanks for all the links and thank you very much for joining in today. But if you're watching back, click the links that will appear. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.